don't know if I ever said that. I think that developed. I always wanted to work with large animals, research kind of thing. That was my dream, you know. Hartnell, Davis, going, and I envisioned myself at the University of Nebraska working on genetics on beef cattle or something like that. And so animal science at Davis would be the logical place to do that. But then my junior year, a gentleman came to my father, and because my dad had ducks as a hobby, he was a teacher professionally, but he had ducks as a hobby, and the guy said, we'd like to get 10,000 duck eggs a month from you, which is an astronomical number. But my dad passed that on to me, and I guess I had a bit of an entrepreneurial streak, and I thought, well, gee, maybe I can turn this into a business. And it turns out we never sold anything to that fellow. I never met him, never saw him, but if it wasn't for him, I would be in Nebraska. Where's the University of Nebraska? But anyway, probably doing what I envisioned doing. So I stayed with an animal science major, took a lot of business courses. Every elective I had, I took business, accounting, or marketing, or whatever. And then came back and started to do it. And it's evolved since then, but it's unique enough.
Did you have any mentor, or you came back to this area?
No.
You didn't have a duck guy? You just said, I'm going to build this up from scratch?
No, well, there's not a lot of duck farms out there.
Right.
So there was a lot of swamps to go through, so to speak. And I just figured that if anybody else wanted to do it, they'd have to go through the same swamps in terms of competition or whatever.
Yeah.
So no, you can pick up some material from other poultry in terms of equipment or housing or sanitation or things like that. But the market itself, we had to figure it out on our own. And initially I started out wanting to sell balut, which is a partially incubated duck egg. It takes 28 days for a duck egg to hatch, and we take them out of the incubator at 17 and sell them at that point to Filipinos and Vietnamese. And I was going to make my millions selling balut. And that's what we concentrated on. But my dad had been hatching a few ducks for some local feed stores, and we had other inquiries, and then we realized, well, you make more money by selling a duckling for, at that time, $1 versus 25 cents for a balut. So we emphasized the sale of the ducklings and eventually the goslings over the balut. So we still sell balut, but it's probably 2% of my business, or 1% or something like that. So it's a sale of ducklings, and then it's just like anything else, whether it's consulting or learning how to teach, you sort of say, well, what are some other ways I can do? What are some other products I can sell? How can I sell more of this? So it's just like any other business.
So was your dad still involved?
No. Once I got back, he said, go for it. It's yours. I'll help you.
Yeah,
and that's what he did.
Uh-huh.
Because he was not a business person. He didn't want to be a business person. His love of life was teaching kids. But I think he was going to hatch some ducks for somebody, and they never showed up to pick them up, and then he had these ducks, and so he said, well, I guess I'll keep them, and then it just sort of grew without any direction.
Did the business part, the financial part, did that evolve along with the duck part?
Oh yeah, it has to. They have to go hand in hand. Yeah, whether you're talking financing or employees or anything like that.
But so this was like junior year, or you were a very young man.
Yeah, well, yeah. But that's the time when you're deciding, well, what am I going to be doing? And that's the time to decide it. And so it was a pretty easy decision. Really, I don't remember any, should I or should I not? Should I do this? I immediately started taking business courses. I figured, well, I'm going to learn the genetics and the nutrition I need. So I need the business side of it. And I'm glad I did, because now I'm not an accountant, but I'm comfortable with it, and that's important for a business.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was ready to get out of school. I had one roommate that was a doctor, and he had years ahead of him, another veterinarian, he had years ahead of him. Man, I did well in school. I don't complain about that, but man, I was done with that school stuff.
Yeah. Well, then,
Let's go do something. Let's produce something.
So you're producing something, and this was prior to. Well, let me back up a little bit when you're talking about business. So you started this business kind of did you go into a lot of debt? Did you, or is this kind of like you built it kind of shoestring?
Sort of shoestring. I mean, yes, I did borrow some money 2 or 3 years into the business. I mean, I had saved some money, and I was living with my parents. I wasn't married yet. You know, that saves money.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I think it was before I was married, I got on the board at Hartnell, and I didn't know it at the time. I mean, once I was on, I learned, well, here's health insurance. You know, so that worked well. You know, all our kids were married under Hartnell's health insurance because I was on the board there. But no, it was just, you know, I look back of the things that the checks I write now that I don't even think about it. You know, 30 years ago, man, that would have been a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, it was, you know, every little bit you studied, and at this point you have a feel for it.
Yeah.
It's got to be fixed. Pay for it. Before it's like, can we live without it being fixed?
Oh.
Kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so everything was tight. Everything was a decision on do we spend it or not.
Right.
And
Think
now
about
you can't.
Yeah, I can stay one more month in the business.
Well, yeah. At times it was, you know, collections and when are we going to get paid, and I, you know, as we all do, we have little snippets of things we remember in our history, and it's like, why do we remember that? But I remember driving with a friend over Pacheco Pass, and it was, we were going skiing or something. But in the back of my mind was, well, I hope, you know, this sale goes through and they pay, and, you know, a specific situation with a specific person. So it's just like any starting business, I assume. It's just tougher in the beginning to make all those decisions and to hire the first person and stuff like that. So but we're past that.
So how long were you into it before you got married?
4 years. I graduated in 78. We got married in 82. So
Okay.
4 years.
So you felt established at that point, or was she, because to be an entrepreneur, your spouse has got to
Yeah.
have that too.
Yeah, I mean, Sharon was great. You know, for years, I didn't take a salary. You know, the business paid some big bills, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it was like, okay, big bill. You know, we'll take some out and pay it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
She always wanted to be out in the country, and I was out in the country. You know, so I accommodated her there. I achieved one of her goals there. So no, she had a full-time job, a well-paying job.
Uh-huh.
So it probably would not have been possible early on if she wasn't working or didn't have a job that paid well, that supported the family on both ends. So, you know, and even now I don't take a huge salary because we don't need it, and I'd rather keep it in the business.
Yeah.
And you know, we're really looking to expand now with my son joining. More production, need to build a new hatchery, and all of that is dollar signs.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
major investments. But you know, if he's excited, he's young, just like I was 30 years ago, and he wants to do this and do that, and that's great, and that's fine, and I support that. I mean, that's how businesses grow. You know, and diversify. So, anyway, there we are.
Yeah, what do you think's going to happen in the next 10 years as far as, are you going to slowly turn over the business? Do you
Yeah, and I have no
real
problem with
slowly or
that.
quickly?
Well, not quickly, and I have no timeline, but I would guess within 5 or 8 years. I don't know. It's sort of interesting. There are not a lot of hatcheries such as myself, what I call a mail order hatchery, hatcheries that mail their day-old birds throughout the United States. But there's quite a few of them that it's interesting that somebody started it and he's now in his 70s or 80s and he's still going to the office. You know, just not to run the place,
Yeah.
but just to help, to be involved, you know, to support, because his kids are doing it now. You know, so that's one way to see your kids, go to work and they're working around you. So I don't know, but I do want to move away because as Mark grows, he's going to want to run more of it. And so I think it'll be a gradual transition.